amateur MMA fight worth taking somebody's career away? Is your morals also worth this specific moment? And it was at that instance where I had to connect, like, am I going to let my instinct take over and just be okay with the consequence, or am I going to do this on purpose? And I remember letting out this guttural yell.
Hey guys, welcome to Auxano, where we discuss our guests and their causes of growth or their causes of change. Today, I am with somebody very popular, and I'm super glad that he said yes to the podcast. It means a lot that he is here with us to bless us with some knowledge and to talk about his experiences. Without further ado, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Geno Quintin. You saw some of my stuff. I go by the handle Geno the Filipino pretty much everywhere. I am a full-time martial artist with my family at Impact Martial Arts Academy in Virginia Beach, Virginia. We didn't start that until 2009, and I only recently got into the content creation game right as soon as the pandemic hit at the end of 2019. So I kind of been doing that for a while. I've been on a little bit of a break, but took a lot of growth to kind of get to where I am now, where things are stable and clean, and my brain's fully developed. So I think I'm at a really good spot to kind of talk on this place here.
Love it. Well, without further ado, we play a game called Let's Get Deep, consisting of 3 levels: Icebreaker, Deep, and Deeper. You choose one of the 2 cards. Lately, the guests have been answering both, but I'm going to try to keep it uniform to where you choose one of them.
Okay.
Without further ado, let's get deep. Level 1.
All right. What's this? So am I asking you this, or is this question for me to answer?
Yeah.
It's for me to answer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What was your favorite cartoon or show as a young kid growing up? I think mine's Avatar: The Last Airbender. I remember watching it with my family as they were coming out with new episodes, and we were already like a family of martial artists, so being able to see all this stuff animated really well, and the story was also pieced together. It was kind of a neat thing for our family to do when we weren't teaching classes or having to go to school or work. Yeah.
All right.
Does it switch over to you?
No.
I mean, just for me?
I guess. But who is your favorite character in Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Oh, man. It's a toss-up. I don't think I have a definite one. It's a toss-up between Zuko at the end of the show and Sokka the entire time.
Okay.
Zuko at the end of the show, I resonate with him very deeply because of the whole the prince trying to get his honor back.
Honor.
Yeah. Right now, at least I say that because there was a time last year where I left my family's business to go and try and do something on my own, and I ended up coming back and learning how to do everything the right way. So at least right now, in the time of my life that I'm in, Zuko is definitely the honor thing that I'm trying to go with. And then Sokka's just the goofball that tries really hard and does really well. So
Yeah.
I like him.
Yeah. So for me, I think it is actually Sokka, because up until I think it is book 3 or 4, he's just this goofball. And then he finally meets his sword master, and he does everything himself. Quite literally, he forged himself, he forged his own sword. And to me, the character development was just A1.
That's funny. I never even saw that symbolism. That's funny.
Yeah, because I think it's super dope, though, because Sokka is he's from the South Pole.
Yeah.
So he's from the South Pole, super cold. The material is raw. So but when he gets to his master, he has to temper himself from the polar opposite to where he is with the water and the ice. He has to then break himself and make himself malleable, forge himself, put him under. Funny, because he goes to the Fire Nation too, so it's just that complete opposite in symbolism. But yeah, I'd agree. Sokka is dope. Sokka's dope. But moving on to level 2.
Good.
Yeah, get to pick one of the 2. You can look at both of them too.
Okay. Oh no. What do you do at night when you can't fall asleep? My latest obsession has been playing Marvel Snap. I don't know if you've seen that. It's the card game
No,
It's like a
actually.
mobile and a Steam game. The games go by really fast. My sister introduced it to me, so when I can't sleep, I will just kind of keep playing the game until I get tired enough. Um, it's a competitive game, so it actually doesn't make me fall asleep. It just makes me more awake and competitive. Um, I think if I didn't have the internet, I would probably go for a run. Um, like a run usually like clears my mind pretty well. Like if I ever go through something in like the middle of the day, I'll take a break and just like go run a couple of miles until you know when the mind's busy, you get the mind moving,
Yeah.
the body moving, so that we make the mind turn off. So
Yeah.
healthy outlets for sure.
What's your favorite spot to run at? Is it Mount Trashmore?
Uh, if I have time to go over there, probably.
Hmm.
But there's like a route that I usually go near my house that's pretty clean, so I don't have to like run next to all of these cars
Yeah.
while they're doing their thing.
Dope. Last but not least, deeper. So what's actually funny about these cards is I've actually never seen them before.
Okay.
So like you answering the question, I'm kind of like, wow, like that is deeper. Or like, wow, that is deep. Or like, wow, that is an icebreaker. So,
All right. I usually pick the first one for all of them, so we're gonna keep it consistent.
all right. Uniformed.
All right. The deeper question: what do you believe you contribute to the world?
Yeah, that's deeper.
That's a pretty deep question there, man. I like to believe that I can show people you can still be human while doing amazing things. Um, Throughout a lot of my like childhood, and it wasn't ever anybody doing something directly to me. I felt like in order to be successful, you had to like cut off your humanity. You have to be like cold and hard and like, business is business. And there was this part of myself where I feel almost childish to the point where I'm just like, am I actually acting my age or successful in this role of leadership? But as I start to do these things, and like you mentioned it before we started recording, is like you can do these things and it's backed by evidence. Like I never trash talk people. I never talk bad. I always let my work speak for myself. And even in the martial arts community, I like to put that example forward. Like you'll never see me bash anybody, any other martial art. And I believe that contributing more energy towards do better for yourself for the sake of if you actually care about other people,
Yeah.
the better you make yourself, not for your ego, but just for the sake of it bettering yourself, contributes a lot more to your community. Like your family gets a better version of you. Your work reflects like how healthy you are, how like mentally sound you are. And just kind of perpetuating that philosophy where you have the balance of mind, body, and spirit is something that, I hope I can get the attention being a Filipino in this atmosphere. I don't really think too much of it anymore because I've been doing it for a while, but every once in a while somebody, like you invited me to this podcast is like, you're really cool. I think you're doing this stuff. I want to pick your brain. And like I'm really humble when it comes to that stuff because I'm just like it's literally just what I've been doing my entire life, and it's cool that I get to share that with people who are interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, I always say that it is the deepest shame when people aren't able to pass down their life story or their knowledge. And a lot of people downplay like what they can offer. And so I've tried to make it my mission to where, like, obviously you have a pretty strong platform to where you've done it, but I remember I was talking to my mentor because I just recently had the MapQuest founder on my podcast, and he's like, oh, so like you're only going to be interviewing like high profile people now. And I looked at him and I actually said, no, it's a personal story podcast. So whether you have 5 followers, 30,000, 100K, a million, whether if I get to have a podcast with Pacquiao, like in all Tagalog, which would be great one day, it comes to the root of personal story. So I mean, first and foremost, it's an honor to be able to pick somebody's brain. You know, the way that we can do it in an intimate setting. Because if I didn't have a podcast and I asked you these questions, you'd probably be like, "No, bro, who are you?" Um, how are you honoring your current path
What do you mean by that?
and what you're doing now with impact as a man? You strike me as a warrior poet. You know, like you have like a lot of substance that is more than just physical training. How are you honoring your current path in life right now?
I think the term warrior. Have you like watched more of my stuff? Because that term kind of comes up pretty often.
Yeah, so I've watched. I was following your stuff for a bit when I was actually looking for Muay Thai gyms
Hmm.
in the area. The military brought me to the side of Virginia, and I was in Newport News at the time though, so I was like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna drive every night to like Impact or like every night to like Eastside Muay Thai or something. So I settled on Shift Combat Sports over in Newport News
Okay.
because it was in that area. But I was following your stuff for a fair bit, especially when the algorithm, like I was on Muay Thai TikTok and you'd pop up. So yeah, but the warrior poet is something that even Jocko Willink coins, if you know who he is.
Hmm.
So I think Jocko Willink is the same way. Um, I think it's that popular phrase with Bruce Lee. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. So yeah, I just want to hear, how you're honoring that path, essentially that cognitive dissonance, that duality.
Yeah, I think I'm really attracted to the high performance mindset, like you mentioned, Jocko Willink. My dad really tries to get me to read books. Terrible about reading books. I listen to them, like in pieces.
That's still reading.
I consider it reading, but he's like, no, you gotta read the book. I think what I perpetuate, at least in the community, is I want to be the kind of person that I wanted to be around when I was younger. I'm always really jealous when it comes to like the kids and the teenagers that come into our school. Because when I was growing up, I had no other peers. It was me, my brother, and my sister, and just like literally all of these military adults, because that was the people that we trained with.
Yeah.
And kind of growing up, I was like, I had to be around that. Like, I was a kid, but I was also always around those kind of like thinkers. And it helped me frame my mind towards being good on purpose, like doing things deliberately versus trying to hunt around for the next thing that makes me comfortable, if that makes sense. At least for training, that's just like the entire philosophy of it. Like martial arts is for betterment of self. You can either do it for the sake of health, you can do it for combat, you can do it as a profession. Like you could be a better teacher, fighter, business owner, or whatever. But whatever you use it for is the garden that you're tending to. So that way later on, when it's time to harvest your crop, you'll have like some sort of substance to it where it's like, I'm not trying to be some danger to society. I'm trying to be a better me. I'm trying to make sure that my family's business that I've been a part of and is providing for us full time is doing well. I'm trying to make sure that I have a future for myself because it's not always now. There's stuff that happens after this moment that you have to tend to. And kind of just like balancing all of that in your day to day, like following the routine, eating right. And if you can find the discipline in doing things that you really don't need to be thinking about all the time, then you're just free to be who you are always, in whatever you do.
In your own words, since you're a fan of Jocko as well, in your own words, how would you describe discipline equals freedom? Like that phrase.
Yeah. Well, like kind of what I mentioned before, if I could take a moment out of this and go like, if I never had to worry about what to eat every single day and I knew that I was going to be healthy, what else can I do with that mental energy? If I never had to worry about when I'm going to wake up, when I'm going to go to sleep, what else can I do with that energy? Like, how many hours have I wasted when I was in middle school playing League of Legends to try and get to sleep when I could have just woken up earlier and done something productive? And, there's a balance. There's like growing and everything. But if you have ultimate freedom, and this is kind of where the content creation stuff came from. When I first started, because of the pandemic, I did whatever. And after doing whatever for about like a year, and I finally went, let's try doing this on purpose. That's when my account blew up. Was the whole like, when you start doing things on purpose, like, nobody likes hearing it. What if I actually tried? What would happen? Like, oh, what could go wrong? But like, no, what would happen if you actually just tried to do something? Yeah. And doing things with purpose gives you the data you're looking for actual growth. So like ultimate freedom versus ultimate discipline. If you discipline yourself, you free yourself from the chaos. You start to become purposeful. Like even in martial arts too, like I'm a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and I have 4 moves. That's it. Everything else kind of funnels into it. No matter what happens, I'm going to do one of those 4 things and I'm going to do it so well, there's nothing you can do to stop me. Like that's kind of like the attitude that I have. And if it doesn't work, I get better at it and I learn. And it keeps a lot of the personality from exploring too far, like the whole analysis paralysis thing. There's too many things to think about all the time. So condensing your energy when it's time to stop sprawling is really important. And, it reflects as you start to get older, or you start to like, when you've had enough sprawling, and you're like, okay, there's too many things. What do I need to do? Let me get back to home base. It's like the big theme that's kind of going on that I try and, talk about, at least with like the new people coming in and how I approach my day to day.
Yeah, definitely leading with intention, with the intention towards discipline. I definitely think a lot more people need to do it more. For the everyman or the every gal, what steps would you recommend that they take?
For disciplining themselves?
Yeah, like just increasing discipline, increasing output so that they're not just couch potatoes all the time.
Yeah. One of the things that sticks out to me right now is a mixture of when I worked with a personal trainer. There was an episode of mine that I had where I worked with him, and he was talking about the benefits of, health stuff. One of the things that you can gift yourself with is waking up early and waking up at not early, but waking up at the same time every day. Consistently. It's not about like when you go to bed, but if you can wake up at the same time every morning on purpose, it actually sets the tone for the rest of the day, and it gives you more mental space, so that way you don't have to worry about like, oh, I'm going to like lose this amount of sleep. And if you could just start with sleep, the energy that you get, instead of trying to hunt for it after you have your itis after lunch and, trying to reclaim your momentum, if you give to yourself in the morning, that's all the productivity you need. Like 2 to 3 hours in the morning of good brain space is the only real like work that you should be doing every single day. Everything else after that can kind of be, easier on yourself. But if I was to give advice to anybody, wake up at the same time every morning. Just start with that, and you'll be amazed at like how much thinking you can start to do for the rest of the day.
Yeah. So like they call it the chair of fitness, like your sleep, your nutrition, your training, and then I think it was the consistency. You personally, what have you struggled with the most, if you are struggling with any of them at all?
Can you say them one more time?
Yeah. So there's sleep, there's training, there's diet, and then there's the consistency. Which one did you struggle with the most?
I think, at least right now, the consistency is kind of hard because of what I do. Most of everything that I do every day is like a lot of computer work, a lot of talking to people, and making time to do the training I think is the hardest, because like, my brain will always go, like, I have work to do. In an hour and a half, am I going to get more out of training my skill, or am I going to get more out of like working on the business? And like sometimes I'll give it, I'm just like, okay, I really need to do work. And then it kind of makes you fall into this rut. I've only identified that being the problem because when I start to feel like junk and I find that rut again, I'm like, why do I feel like junk like right now? Like everything's fine. Why do I feel like this depression going on. It's not the weather. It's always sunny right now. And then after I start to realize it, it's because I'm not giving the healthy outlet. And the consistency part, like we are instinctively trying to find routine. That's what our brains always try and do. It will hunt for patterns. And when you start to break your patterns and you start to break routine, that's when things start to go wrong and you're all over the place.
Yeah.
But definitely consistency is that's the hardest one for me, at least at this moment.
Yeah. I know that James Clear writes that we don't fall, we fall to the level of our systems, not the level of our ambition.
Mm-hmm.
What systems have you cultivated, to when you feel really crappy or when you feel like junk? What systems have you cultivated over the years that keeps you consistent?
Yeah, I think just having a schedule on when I'm training, even though I mentioned consistency is kind of hard for me right now.
Yeah.
I will always make it a point to at least train 2 times a week. At least 2 times a week. If there's anything more than that, that's kind of a bonus.
Yeah.
It's kind of a blessing that it's my family's business, so I'm already there.
Right.
So as long as I'm there, I have the ability to go do my training. Time is really important, and doing things at the same time. It's not like to feel like you're trapped. It's the act of making time. Like I know next week, Tuesday at 10 a.m., what I'm going to be doing. It's purpose. Like I'm going to be working on myself doing the training. Anything else after that, at least like with like eating and stuff, like meal prepping gives you so much brain space.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier on your brain when it comes to doing things for yourself. Like meal prepping, I think is an act of self-love. Like,
yeah.
To your future self. Like,
I'd agree.
I'm going to put 2 to 3 hours into taking care of all of my meals so that way I can just do what I want to do for the rest of the week. If I don't have to worry about eating and I don't have to worry about like anything else, I have to like stop my momentum and then go make food. Like I don't want to think about food through the week. I'm trying to work. I'm trying to train.
Yeah. So there was, oh my goodness, you're going to think this is really bad. It was like my second year in the military, and I remember I told myself I'm only going to eat chicken breast and rice. Obviously, that did not pan out. So what I ended up doing was I ended up getting like pad thai every day for like lunch or dinner. Yeah, I think meal prepping is a form of self-love, because if you're not paying yourself now, you're going to pay for it later.
Later, for sure.
And yeah, I couldn't agree more. You've been saying purpose, and I wanted to pivot into a conversation towards purpose. Have you heard the phrase ikigai?
You'll have to remind me.
So ikigai is the Japanese concept of what you're good at, how you can get paid for it, how it helps the world.
Yes, I'm familiar.
Yeah. What is your ikigai, or what is your passion? Oh, I'm sorry. What is your purpose? What is your ikigai? What is your passion?
It's interesting because I feel like I'm already living it.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's other ways that people phrase it. It's like you need a hobby that makes you money, something to keep you healthy, and
Yeah,
blah,
yeah.
blah, like that thing.
Yeah.
I think that's like the American way of what
Hey, it works.
ikigai is. But
It works.
if I start with purpose, my purpose is to live a happier, productive life, because time is limited,
Yeah.
and I shouldn't suffer in silence, if that makes sense. Like I can do something about it. Something is better than just like sitting and letting time pass by. The impact on the world is it's fortunately already there. I'm very blessed to be born into a family that does this as their full-time thing.
Impact.
Yeah, it's the literal impact on the community, because there's kids that come in and they don't know anything about social skills. They don't know anything about their motor skills or how to like take care of themselves. And it's not about teaching them how to fight. It's about surrounding them in that environment that allows them to grow. Providing that to the community. And then also one of the reasons why I like making content is that, you can reach everybody.
Yeah.
Perpetuates that. I know I can't like fight off the negativity from everything in the world, but if I can put my 1 or 2 drops into the ocean of positivity,
Yeah.
it'll do something, at least like for who's around to feel its effect.
Yeah.
And I think, what is the other one? Like making money, I guess. In the end, it's a business. So like I have to learn about business anyway. So it kind of wraps it all together. being in the business of self-improvement by living it as an example
Yeah.
is like what I really enjoy about the position that I'm in, is that the more I take care of myself, the better the family business does. The more I learn about the family business, the more we help the community. And then we all just keep helping each other. The more people we help, the more they grow. And then more people come in. And then more I take care of myself.
Yeah.
It's just a big echo chamber of positivity. And I try and live around that than trying to think of like,
How can I sell these guys?
yeah, I'm like, we don't think about money. Like sometimes like you'll find like these places, they have this like, for lack of a better term, like hard selling.
Mm-hmm.
And then when people come into the thing, they're just like, like, oh man, I gotta sign up for this enrollment thing. And I talk to them about it. Like, we offer a very structured curriculum. It's like enrolling into a semester of college. We do all of the thinking for you. We know what we're going to teach you for the next 6 months. And when you test out of it, then you go to the next semester in the fundamentals program. If you want to do that, it takes about 6 months to learn, because I could teach you everything in about 10 minutes, but you're not going to remember anything.
Right.
It takes like a nurturing process. And then like, when people actually like learn about it, like I'm not trying to sell them on the thing. I'm just telling them what it is, because that's what I did. And then it's like an anti-sales thing. I go like, do you like the environment? Do you want to train this more? You don't want to say, okay, cool, I'm not going to push it. Like, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to do this. This is like the least pressure sales thing ever.
Yeah.
And it makes my job a lot easier, because I'm like, I'm not going to get you to try and learn something against your will. Like, you got to want it. So like, if they don't sign up, it's more on me. I'm like, okay, well, what didn't I do to get them to feel like we're giving value enough? And then even after that, it's still an improvement thing. So it's either they sign up or I learn something, and
Yeah.
it makes it easier for everybody.
Have you seen Kingdom, by the way?
Kingdom.
It's like an MMA show. It was like with like Nick Jonas was in it for a little bit.
It sounds familiar. I probably saw.
Frank Grillo was the main actor.
I don't think so. No, I don't watch TV that often.
So I don't usually either. I actually watch a lot of YouTube though. I mean, I will admit that. In the show Kingdom, like Frank Grillo plays, I think his name's Alvy, and so he is the head coach of the former like world MMA champion, and the MMA champ is like burnt out. Like he's like, wow, like I can't do this. But what you were saying with like you get to be there or you choose to do it. There's a scene to where like the fighters are like, why are you complaining? Like you get to do this. This is a privilege, and I love how like you guys are there like you're planting seeds in the garden. You're protecting your students against sleet, harsh wind, rain, and having a platform to be able to nurture these seeds. If you could do something completely different, like it wasn't martial arts or you didn't have to rely on money, would you still be in martial arts?
Like if I never had to worry about money, or like if nothing that sustained me was an issue, I would be learning. I would be learning about every possible culture, every possible like thing to do with the human experience. To take a small tangent to that, my big goal is to kind of follow the footsteps of my dad's teacher, Dan Inosanto. Are you familiar with?
Yeah.
So my dad's directly mentored under Dan Inosanto.
Legend.
Yeah, he's been training with him for 27 years now. And one of my big goals is eventually I want to learn the language, the martial art, and one other kinesthetic skill of every culture that's involved with our affiliation of martial arts. So like I want to go to China, learn Kung Fu and Chinese, and then, go to like France and then learn savate and, fencing or whatever. And like I want to do that for every single country. So that way, when it comes time to be a resource, and then like, when I'm old and I can't do it anymore, I can pass that down the same way that Dan Inosanto does for his thing. The human experience is just something that I genuinely enjoy doing. So like talking to people, traveling, everything like that. If money and sustainability stuff wasn't an issue, I would be doing that all the time, and then giving it back to my family and more.
I think it's actually funny that you say that, because I brought up Kingdom. So the same actor in the show, he actually has a documentary called, I think, Fight Story, where he like goes to Thailand for Muay Thai, and then he goes to Myanmar he goes to Cambodia for Lethwei. And then, I don't know, it like splinters to like really weird like forms of martial arts, but he did that. He did that. Where would you go first?
Probably the Philippines. I've never been out of the country.
Wow.
At the time of
Okay.
recording this, right now, I've never been out of the country. I have my passport, but I've never been anywhere. So probably the Philippines. There's some family over there I want to see. And then I think Thailand would be the second. And then probably Japan.
Okay. Okay.
They're all like next to each other.
So Arnis, Kali, Eskrima, and then
I
Muay
would go
Thai.
to Japan for judo. I want to learn judo over there.
That's actually super cool. So it's a consideration I've been having, where like having the guts to just go up to the Kodokan and be like, I will suffer, teach me.
Yeah.
Because they do that. Like it's like enrolling in college, actually, kind of like what you were saying. I think they take a flat fee. The flat fee is kind of expensive now because of inflation.
Yeah, and then you get the whole building.
Yeah, yeah, but I think it's like for foreigners, it's like $5,000 a month. Which, I mean, in hindsight, like it sounds really expensive, but if that's like what you want to do, it doesn't sound that bad. Because I know that there are Shaolin monks in China. There's some dude on Reddit who was posting his kung fu journeys. He was only paying like about $1,500 to stay at a Shaolin monastery, and he was eating like a vegetarian. He was learning Sanda with the Shaolin monks. So, I mean, hey. I actually wanted to ask you about your ring experience, if you wanted to delve into that.
Yeah, it's kind of old information because I was only really in the MMA ring when I was 18 and 19 years old. So like 7 and 8 years ago. Is there anything specific that you'd like to know?
I did. I wanted to ask permission because it was a clip I saw way back, actually. It was your feelings on the 10 seconds where you were essentially going to submit an enemy. Yeah. And I think you were talking about your mother and how you were saying, like, dang, I got to compete with this thought too.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be able to, like, hear an expanded story on how you felt, if you want.
Yeah, no, I enjoy telling this story because I recognize now that as an adult, I grew up very sheltered and taken care of. And it's not a bad thing. Like, there are things that come with it, and, like, I'm really grateful for, like, the stuff that my parents have done. But up until that point, when I was 18 and 19, I haven't really needed to turn it on anybody. Like, when we train, like, I'm usually the most experienced or the strongest person that I am for a sparring person. And up until I was 18 and 19, I've never competed before. I never had to, like, hit somebody in the face or, like, do the deed on them to, like, win. You know what I mean? And when I was 18, that was my very first MMA fight. I was an 18-year-old going into this ring with, like, 3,000 people watching us, and I had to fight somebody, like, twice my age. And I didn't think anything of it. It was really funny because going up until the fight, you know, I just, like, you know, if I was to delve into that mindset again, I was really confident with myself. I'm like, yeah, I've been training for a really long time. I'm doing this and blah, blah, blah. And the first round happened. I was gassed. Second round happened. I was basically hard sparring. I didn't, like, fight because I never knew what it meant to, like, turn it on. And it didn't dawn on me until the last 10 seconds where we were doing the thing. And I think it was in the second round. He gets me, like, in a rear naked choke, and I start panicking. I think I felt it. I was like, no, I just trained for, like, 9 months for this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm, like, panicking in my head. And I was like, oh, it's not getting any tighter. Oh, he doesn't know how to finish it. My jiu-jitsu's better. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and continue doing this. And, like, that thought process happened while we were in the fight. I escape it, and then round 3 happens. And during the last part, and I'm telling you all of this because that kind of, like, gentle innocence followed me into the ring. And at the last part, when I heard the claps, I was considering everything, like, you know, the first 2 rounds, I was getting beat. Like, I was losing pretty bad. If I didn't submit him in that round, I would have definitely lost the fight. And I capture him in, like, an arm bar, and then we're holding it, and then, like, time stops. Like it was literally a Sherlock Holmes moment. Like, everything stopped. The room got quiet.
Discombobulate.
Basically, yeah. But it was against myself. Like, the room stopped, and I went, and it was as soon as I was about to start cranking it, I heard my mom's voice in my ear, basically telling me, to consider, like, is this amateur MMA fight worth taking somebody's career away? Is your morals also worth this specific moment? And it was at that instance where I had to connect, like, am I going to let my instinct take over and just be okay with the consequence, or am I going to do this on purpose? And I remember letting out this guttural yell. And after I was done, I was pulling it, and like in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to break it. I'm going to just win. So I start pulling it, and in my head, I'm like, please just tap. Please just do not make me do this. Submit to me, please. I care about you. This is not worth your arm getting broken. I respect you. Please just let me win. And then he taps. And at that moment, most of the time when people win, they're trying to do things so that way they can win and they can celebrate, be a good sport and everything like that. But for me, because I was 18, I've never had to demand that much power. I've never had to command myself over somebody like that before. And when the fight was over, I almost started crying on the mat because it was very big for me, because I felt the joy of like, yes, I won. And then I also felt, is he okay? And then I was also thinking about, like, I can't believe I just did that to somebody. Like, I don't know if you've ever like been in a fight before, I like really had to check somebody, but like the first time that you do it, like when you have to turn on like the command presence, I don't know about you, but like whenever I do that stuff, I feel kind of bad, because like I just want everybody to be happy. I want like everything to be neutral, everything to be fine, and for me to have to like raise it that high, I don't genuinely enjoy doing that. But it's different now that I'm older, but during that time in the ring, it was a lot of adrenaline for sure, because I've never done anything like that before.
Yeah.
But that kind of feeling in the story was my awakening of like, okay, I have control. I am in control, and I can do these things without letting the dark side win. Because like it's easy. Like, if you're ever into jiu-jitsu and stuff, it's easy. You at any time you can just thrash and like really ruin somebody's body.
Yeah.
But can I win gently? Just enough. And it gave me like a really big sense of confidence after I thought about all that stuff. But in the moment, it was really big. I was just like, everything I told you, that all happened in like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
All of that. So like absorbing, you ever like Jujutsu Kaisen?
Oh,
They
yeah.
hit the
Koksen!
Yeah, there's like boom, all of the information of the universe hits you in that split second. Like that's basically the moment that I had for power. And I was like, this is scary stuff. And it like, but it's an important experience to have, because like if you don't have that slowly growing up and you never have that moment of like, this is what power feels like, you tend to find yourself taking it somewhere. Like you'll either accidentally take it out on a family member, or like you'll do it to yourself, and it's like, it's a lot. But
Are you also a fan of Vinland Saga? For kind of like the similar
I haven't finished
reason?
that yet. I watched the first 3 episodes and I completely forgot until you said something.
I feel like we would have had like a crazy dialogue if you finished season 2. But I'll let this rest. I'll let this rest. Maybe an episode 2 with you, and you finished Vinland Saga. Where does your compassion come from?
My compassion?
Because you could have easily cranked this guy's arm. You could have easily destroyed most 18-year-old men, maybe even 18-year-old young boys, right? Yeah, like I can get some. Like, let's do it. I'll destroy everybody. Where does your compassion come from?
I think, oh man, it gets me kind of emotional when I think about this. There is a lot of love that I have for my family. And just thinking about it makes me like really emotional, because I really don't like it when I have to tap into taking from people. And a lot of the feeling that I have when I'm around my family is that like, I want you to win. I want us to be powerful. And leading with that is such an infinite pool of energy that you can think of. That like at any time, you know, Filipinos talk about this all the time, like your ancestors,
I
like
get it.
10,000 hands. Like
get it.
I represent this moment, and everybody that came before me, I honor.
Yeah.
When I think of that, that makes me more powerful. And in like, you know, in anime and stuff like that, people, you know, fantasize the, I have like, you know, family and friendship. It's portrayed very interesting in media, but like when you actually take the essence of what that means, you can feel yourself forever versus I hate you and I'm going to do whatever it takes to win this moment. Because when that moment's done, it's empty. There's nothing. There's nothing else. So in martial arts, when it comes to, you know, the sportsmanship of it, you can tell when somebody actually cares because they have that control. The people that go until the end and there's nothing left, they're going to burn out. They're going to be the ones that will use the dark energy. And at the end of all of that, it takes away from their soul. And I like to think about it like the balance between like a dark knight and a paladin. You know what I mean? Like
do you play D&D too?
I'm familiar with like RPG stuff.
Let's go.
Yeah. Like I would tap into my soul energy when it's appropriate, but I would rather lead my life with the compassion of like love. Like I love what I do. I am me in this moment. And definitely for sure, during that last bit of my fight, that was the struggle I had. I'm like, am I going to give in or am I going to keep my morals?
Yeah. I want to ask a probing question, but I don't want to go like so deep as to like raise a too harsh emotion. But to you, what is love? Because you have a lot of it, I think.
I think love, for me, it's the feeling of knowing that you can be vulnerable. Like humans are very fragile.
Yeah.
Very fragile in every single aspect. And the only reason why we're able to do things is because we can learn and we can improve. And like, you know, one of the reasons why when I talk about like love and I think of my family is because you don't know how much you love something until it's taken from you or until you think about what happens when it's not there anymore. Like if you've ever lost like a family member or like a dog or, you know, a relationship that ended and you're just like, you're grieving over it. It's love that has nowhere to go and you have to hold it and you have to express it somehow. I think you learn how to love as you start to get older, the more that you lose and the more that you grow and you have to focus on what's important.
I unfortunately agree. I agree.
So like, you know, when I was 18, you know, I had like a relationship at the time too, but like that relationship where I thought I knew what love was versus like I'm older, like I've lost a great grandparent and my dog and, you know, a long-term relationship. Like, no, I know what love is now because I'm not giving it anymore. I'm holding on to it and it means something. It's more valuable to me. The more that you lose and your supply gets lower, it's really, really valuable. And the next time that you're able to do something with it, you know, it has a greater effect. So that's why like when you see me like train, it's because I know how to put myself into something that like when people see me hit the pads, you're like, man, you're like a monster. You sound off like you're going to like destroy the universe or blah, blah, blah. And you know, you put out this stuff and it's like, it's because I know where to put my energy. And the more that like you can kind of condense on what's important, I think that itself is the way that you can show love to you more.
Self-love as well. That's powerful. When we talk about self-love, I also think it goes back to even self-honor. For honor obligations, if I could use the word, to yourself and to family, how are you able to remain true to who you are? Because sometimes you can't, you know, sometimes the dark energy does overtake. Sometimes you're also you're beat down. You're had a long day. Your loved one died. How do you remain steadfast?
I think, well, just connecting to the last thing, you know, if I were to pass away and people that love me are still around, I would like them to continue doing what they do best and continue living a happy life. I'm just not around. I like to think that thought is reciprocated to anybody else because I don't hold any grudges. I don't think anybody has something like that towards me that like, I want you to suffer for the rest of your life. So with that thought out of my head, when things happen, it's not that I don't care. It's that I understand when things come to an end. Everything will come to an end one day, but it's not today.
Yeah, that resonates deeply with me because there's definitely a lot of times where I have trouble letting go, but I've also had to let go of things that I didn't want to let go of at the time, whether it be my best friend dying or whether it be any friend dying, whether it be like car accident, gunshot, whatever, right? I resonate with it a lot. And the strength you have in belief for your family, I resonate with a lot too. Do you feel like, and this is kind of a hypothetical question, I suppose, in and of itself too,
Sure.
is do you feel like you have to forego your sense of self sometimes for your family, for these honor obligations? I mean, we're Filipino, so I get that. It might seem like a form of conditioning to others, but what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah. I think if I was to put it into words, family is forever. I know it's not the same for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I know there are a lot of people out there that are not as close to their family the same way that I am. Like, I'm really close to my parents and my siblings. Like, my siblings are my best friends. I know a lot of people don't have that. But understanding that core group, like, that is your family. Some people don't have biological parents. Some people don't have friends that they grew up with, but they make that connection. And, like, when you think of the word family and friends, the immediate people that are already on your mind, that's the only people that I care about to take advice from and to make sure that like things are good. When it comes to abandoning my sense of self, I don't usually feel like I have to give up who I am or give up what I want to make sure the family's taken care of, because we're all taking care of each other. Because the more that I give to the family, the more that I give to the business, the more it comes back. Instead of trying to think like, okay, this business is going to be my form of income, and if you just change the way that you look at things, because mechanically things happen. Like, I do the job, I get paid. I give a gift on Christmas to my family members, they give a gift back. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think about what happens after I do the thing. I just do the thing. And because you have that core group, the echo chamber that keeps coming up, I don't think after realizing what that is, I ever feel like I have to give up who I am for the family. I think at one point before I understood that, it came up, but when you start to like really understand what community actually is, that thought kind of goes away, because then you just like, you're free.
Yeah. It takes a village. It takes a village. There's a period of time where, at least in my life, it felt like a lot of my life was in devotion to making sure that my family was taken care of. Are you first generation Filipino?
I think I'm first, because my parents, I don't ever know how to answer this question. My parents immigrated with my grandparents, and then I was born and raised here after.
Yeah, you're first.
First, okay.
First generation. How do you set strong boundaries with them?
Well, fortunately, my parents have kind of gone through the first layer of learning how to set boundaries and communicate.
Yeah.
It gets better over time. I know there's a lot of people that have communication issues, but like, my parents have done a really good job of trying to make things work and like trying to learn. Because like, if you think about it, like my parents, at one point were like 20 years old. My family's kind of young. My parents had me when they were like 19 and 20, and like I'm 26. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things that I've only recently started to learn when it comes to communication, and I can only imagine what kind of growth they had to go through to become parents. Because of that understanding, it's easier to communicate with them because, if you can remove the bias of just like, whatever situation's going on, if you can just empathize and put yourself in the position, it tends to make situations a lot easier. And it's something that we're all learning too. Like, we only all recently started to get better at some communication. I think everybody is starting to do that, especially with like social media. There's a lot of like mental health and communication advice that goes around, and you're just like, I should try that. Like, I think having a nice relationship with my parents is kind of nice,
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm not trying to, like let's break everything that I've ever known about you and become your best friend. It's just, how do you just healthfully, I don't know if that's the word. How do you communicate properly is what I like to try and lead with. If I can understand where you're coming from and we literally just talk without the yelling, without any sort of like trash talking, if we could just take away all the negativity and be like, what do you feel right now so I can talk to you?
Yeah, I think for any Filipinos listening, hopefully it gives that hope that it's not just Jessica, you're too bad. It's not just demeaning, and it's not just rising above to meet sometimes these generational traumas that it got pushed down to them because of their father or their mother.
I don't want to like interrupt that one, but like if you also hear those things, like you always hear stuff like that. Like I've never grown up with that, like ever. I've never had the aunties or uncles like tell me anything bad about me, whatever. And I'm just like, man, that kind of sucks. Like if you hear that all the time, I can imagine how that affects like the way that you think. And then as soon as you hear like this piece of advice, like if somebody's listening to this right now, as soon as you hear that you can think about it differently, you now have the choice to get over it. But not get over it like let it go. Like you can make it change. Like if somebody tells you like you're too fat, like, okay, why are they saying that? What are they actually telling you?
Yeah.
I care about your health. That's what they're actually saying. Like,
I seem kind of backhanded, but
you're 26. Why don't you have boyfriend?
yeah.
I don't know anything about you. How's your dating life going? Are you thinking about kids? If we were to just change it to be those questions, you would answer it completely different.
100%. 100%.
So if you can extract what they're saying, and you're like, oh, you're getting fat. Like, yeah, I know. Thank you for thinking of me. I've been trying to work on my health. And like, oh, I know this person. They're the gym owner. You should go train with them. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It would be you can switch it. You could do the verbal judo on them at any time. And they're probably not even thinking that they're doing something that's negative to you. That's just the way that they know how to communicate. Especially with language barriers too. Like some words are just like you can't use the polite English way of saying it. Yeah. It just has to come out direct. Yeah. But because of the social stuff that we've grown up with here in America, when you hear that, there is a very big...
You're attacking me.
Yeah, now you're attacking me. I'm like, I'm confident with myself. You're not attacking me. What are you saying? Like, if you can just use that as a filter, you're free.
Yeah.
Everyone listening to this, you're free now.
100% agree.
Take the leash off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, a lot of the times, too, like, if it seems kind of backhanded or demeaning, it's essentially just a way of them giving you advice, but in a very negative, it could have been worded much better way.
That's probably how they heard it growing up.
Yeah.
And until somebody breaks that cycle, it actually doesn't end.
Yeah. Yeah, it pays to be the one to break the curse, I say. Actually, kind of to leading on to that, it reminds me of the hero's journey, if you've heard the literary device.
I think, yeah.
So with the hero's journey, and I definitely wanted to segue into it, it's the fact that it might seem foreign to when they're attacking you and stuff, but diamonds and swords are formed under pressure. You kind of just have to, not necessarily just take it, but you have to come into it with a a mindset of what are they trying to tell me? How does this reinforce me? How can I respond? As opposed to just saying like, you hate me, I'm going to react. I hate you. All right, we're done.
To take a small segue out of that, I think, man, if my dad happens to listen to this right now, he's like smiling, nodding his head. Education.
Yeah.
Education in any form is so powerful for people.
Yeah.
Because what you just said, like understanding the situation, how to use it, how to make it better, that's like literally what martial arts does for yourself. It gives you some sort of control.
Yeah.
And the people that are always reacting are the ones that you can tell, like, you just haven't been educated.
Yeah.
Like, you actually do not know how to think. And the more reps you have in thinking and like actually improving yourself, it's really important. I think what you're talking about is something that everyone needs to be aware of for sure.
Yeah. And honestly, education doesn't necessarily mean like reading a book either.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you have to experience the event or circumstance, I guess is the better word, for you to pressurize or then recognize that this is an experience that you can overcome.
Yeah. Growing pains.
Growing pains.
Pains is the big part. Get over that.
I love that phrase. Growing pains.
It's not growing comforts.
Yeah, it's not growing comforts for a reason. It's growing pains, because from the pain, then you'll grow. Yeah. From the pain, you'll be able to experience and nurture. From the pain being what you might need to do better or what you might need to rediscover. So, but to pivot from that, the hero's journey. I find you very curious. Like I'm like just in shock / like I want to know more of your mindset. And with the hero's journey, you leave a place of comfort, and then you go slay the dragon. And then once you slay the dragon, you come back. You're no longer the same boy that left. What dragons have you slayed? What dragons have you slayed?
Unfortunately, this is actually the thing I was referencing last year, why I left. Around this time last year, and I don't know if it was a journey that I picked for myself or found. It kind of fell into my lap at a really interesting time. Around this time, I had a 5-year relationship of mine end. My eldest dog died, and I went on a live stream a week after to teach martial arts. During this live stream, I had 1,200 people watching me teach stuff on TikTok. And there was a thing in there I plugged in and I go, hey guys, if you're interested in supporting the channel, you can buy my ebook or donate to the whatever. And then somebody on Instagram messaged me and they were just like, hey, how much money do you need? And I went, this is a scam, but I'm going to entertain it. Told them the number. And they were just like, okay. November, December, January, this much money, this place. And I went, are you asking if I'll train you for a couple of months for that amount of money? Yep. My relationship ended, my dog died, all of that stuff happened. I'm going to go start over because I'm hurt and I don't know what to do right now. I ended up taking it. This is probably the first time I'm actually like saying this publicly, I guess. I ended up taking it. I had to go through all of the motions that came with taking an abrupt change of life and leaving a family business.
Yeah.
When my dad and I finally came to the end of our conversation, I left with the intention of this is going to be my new life. The family business is going to like not be something I'm going to return to. Like I'm going to go. Like I'm going to go now. And we had an understanding about that. It didn't work out. I ended up coming back a month later. It only lasted a month. Fortunately, there's a whole like tangent I can go on what would actually happen if that worked out. But like I'm glad that I'm grateful for what happened that led me to this moment. because what happened after that was I actually went and it got my world experience. I had never taken like a corporate job before. I've never had to go through the part-time stuff. I grew up very sheltered, and I worked for my dad for 7 years. So I never I didn't go to college, never had like a real like part-time job or been in the workforce. And then over the next 5 months was basically me learning what the world was about and then realizing how good I had it at the family business. And after doing all of this stuff and actually growing into like a more capable man, it wasn't really about like taking a business venture or like doing something to, you know, like I'm going to go slay the dragon and bring back their horde. It was like I literally had to grow up that fast because of the agreement that I had with my dad that like if it didn't work out, I wasn't allowed to come back. So I had to figure it out. And for him, you know, we've gotten over a lot of that stuff now. But when he expressed to me, like it was really hard watching you go through that, like literally watching me. Like I worked like 2 part-time jobs, and I was never home. I stopped training. I disappeared from Impact for like 6 months. Nobody, like I didn't even say bye. Like I just left. And until like July of this year, that had kind of been like my story. Like it was a lot of personal growth. Like I have the martial arts skill, I have the business stuff, I have like I know I'm really like for lack of a better term, like I feel really blessed to have all of these things going for me. But because of how young my brain was and how much world experience I didn't have, I didn't know what to do with it. So it was kind of like having the I don't know if you ever played like God of War. You see him like he has all of this stuff and then like it's taken from him and then you have to play the whole game to get all of his powers back.
Level 1.
That's what I went through in the last year, and it was literally like a year ago today.
Wow.
When everything came to an end, when I came back home.
Wow.
Which is kind of interesting that like this conversation's coming out because like today is the 1 year mark of me coming back home to Virginia.
So you left Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you go?
I went to another state for their own privacy. I'll just keep it.
Yeah,
it was another state.
Gotcha. So yeah, I do think that's where the most growth happens for sure, when you are able to. But this is like my complete projection. I even would dare say that even though it was hard, I'm pretty sure your dad was proud of you for leaving, for being able to move, you know, and make your own decision. Whereas you say you were straddled with being sheltered. You say that you were, but picking your own path is so impactful. No pun intended. Have you guys talked about it again?
Yeah.
Since then?
I mean, that's the reason why I'm back at the academy in July. That was when we had the whole like, okay, you've had your real experience. Do you, like, there's a need for you still at Impact. Like we need, like the family needs to be together. And then like he didn't try to convince me. It was like me actually talking to him. I'm just like, I don't want to work these part-time jobs. Like I would rather use all of this energy to do this thing. And then, you know, we came up with a medium. But I think having that conversation of like, you know, the rapid boot camp of life that I had to go through was kind of the same effect of like probably what he went through when he went to boot camp, or like what somebody goes through if like, you know, you leave for a while and then you come back a completely different person. I know he's proud of me. I will probably just leave it at that. I think everybody has something like that. We're getting better at communicating, but like my perspective completely changed. And like now, like as a 26-year-old, I feel like I understand a lot more. Like, wow, I have a lot of tools at my disposal and time is valuable. Like, I really wish I knew that when I was 18 years old. But like it takes something like that to wake you up and be like, are you awake now?
Yeah.
Like, are you actually living, or are you surviving every single day? That's kind of what broke me out of it when I was like, I'm going to live now on purpose. I'm back. And then from July until now, everything's kind of, it's not perfect, but it's a lot better. And I'm more at peace with a lot of the things I'm doing now.
Yeah. I think it's funny how you say that you're at peace, because this entire year for me has been turning to the peace I already had. I mean, Muay Thai helps, don't get me wrong. Muay Thai and hitting the bag and going to the gym. I was looking for peace in the martial arts of like just sheer violence, trying not to feel anything. I was looking for peace in trying to start multiple companies. I was looking for peace in the dates that I was trying to go on or the women that I was just trying to be with. But it was when I turned to it that I realized that I actually had it the entire time. I was just too stubborn to see it. So I'm glad that that's something that you're, you know, accepting, I think, is even the better word, because oftentimes making a hard choice of saying, like, I'm going to do this my way and I'm going to die on this hill.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then realizing that you're kind of fucking wrong.
Sometimes you gotta die. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes
you gotta go.
My older brother actually coins this term. He's like, dog, you were attempting this dungeon at level 10. The dungeon was level 50. What were you thinking? Mm-hmm. So
that's how I felt with like content creation too. Not gonna lie.
Wow.
Because there's a lot of stuff that you need to do on purpose, and you can get away with talent for only so long. You know, some people are blessed with a lot of talent, but as soon as you hit that wall, you got to actually start trying.
Yeah.
Some people are actually just stuck there, which is where the term peaked in high school comes from. In everybody's own way, there is a peak in high school moment.
Yeah.
That's the wall, and most people are just too lazy to break through it, or just they don't even know that they're at the wall.
You know, it's actually really funny that you're talking about that too, because my therapist coins it as the athlete staircase. So the athlete staircase is generally when, and especially since, I mean, most people are athletes in high school. Some people peak in high school. The athletes peak in high school. She coins the term as a incline ascent as opposed to a rapid descent. So with the athlete staircase, you could run down super fast and then burn out, or you could hit the stair block one at a time and realize that you're still going up. And also what progress looks like is rapidly going down and then taking one step at a time again. Or progress also looks like jumping from the staircase and then jumping to the third block and then stepping up once. And then she's also saying that the athlete staircase sometimes look like you're able to jump from the bottom to the top, but then at the top of the staircase, it's just another staircase. Yeah, so it's what you said, definitely it like triggered that memory where she's like, you're like doing too much, bro. Like stop doing all this. Like you're just going down the staircase and you're never climbing back up. You're just going down. Yeah, is something that just reminded me of it.
You can see that a lot in people that do martial arts.
Yeah.
You can tell when the people do way too much, and then you can tell when people know what they're doing. It's simple. Yeah. It's very simple. Like when you watch me throw a kick, I look like I'm having the most boring time ever because it's just that clean. And it's not to like toot my own horn. It's like it's clean because I want to not work that hard.
Yeah, it reminds me of this. I think it's like a quote from Hajime no Ippo, like way back when. Like, why throw something at 100 when 40 will do, when 60 will do?
Just like there's a limit. Like my leg weighs this amount. If I swing it any harder than this, I'm just wasting energy.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I'm good at 40% and 40% is all I need, now I can just be creative. You know?
Yeah. Approach it from a different angle, different perception. Yeah, I agree. With your content creation, was that a period of just trying? You're like, I'm just gonna give this a try, and then it blew up, or was it like, all right, like I'm methodically going to get to like 100K followers, and then 200, and then 300?
Definitely not on purpose. When the pandemic hit, everybody had to shift to digital, and I was just like, you know, it was hard. Like the world stopped.
Yeah.
For like a couple of years, and like the only thing that I could think of was like, this is literally like we need people here. The business is feeding our family and people can't come into the business. What can I do? All right, cool. While everybody's figuring this out, you know, TikTok's there, people are posting stuff.
Yeah.
I think the story of what happened with everybody, it came around during the pandemic and we're just like, I'll give it a shot. that trend looks funny. I'll go do this. And then people like started to know who I was because I was keeping up with the trends. And because I was a little better than the average person, I got more attention. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this trend, but I'm going to make it martial arts related. So then everybody that's into martial arts is going to see me as a creator. That was the intention. I never really made good videos. It took me like probably 300 videos before I actually started to figure out what I was doing. And then by the 300th video, one of them popped off and created a snowball. Because I was consistent and I laid a foundation for the snowball to sit there, all of it was sitting there for the algorithm to pick up. And when the one video hit, the rest of my videos hit. And I went from like growing from 0 to like 500 followers in like a couple of months. And then I went to 3,000 in the next month. Then that video hit, and then I was at 180,000 in like a week. And I was like, this is way too much attention for a 22-year-old to like figure out. You know what I mean?
Was there an ego power trip for a little bit? You were like, I'm famous.
Basically, yeah. But the thing I think definitely grounded me was the fact that, like, you know, I consider myself a high-profile person because my family owns a business. I represent not just me.
Yeah.
I'm literally connected to the family business. So whoever looks at me is going to see the rest of the stuff. So, like, on the inside, I think I was feeling some of that stuff, but I was always limited.
Yeah.
And there was definitely a period of time where I overstepped. Just to be like completely honest, like, you know, we talked about this before we started recording. Like, the reason why I'm not teaching or doing that stuff on the internet anymore is because I didn't know that I was making myself look like I was the owner of Impact. I just wanted to show people martial arts techniques.
Yeah.
But then the more that I look at it, I'm like, it doesn't make sense for me to have this attention. It really doesn't. All of this information I'm putting out belongs to my dad because he's the one that taught it to me. I don't own this. He owns this. And there's a lot of contention inside of that, which is where you can, like, if you were to go back to my videos during the beginning, you can actually see, like, the maturity happen as I'm making the videos, and it starts to calm down, like, a lot. Like, I'm not, like, a Mr. Beast hype man anymore while I'm teaching stuff. It's, like, how we're talking right now. Like, I'm not confident in myself anymore. I'm certain now.
Yeah. Wow. That's a quote card. Not confident in myself. Sure. So, as a 26-year-old man now, and this is actually usually the first question I ask, but I wanted to delay it on purpose.
Sure.
As a 26-year-old man now, what life advice would you give that young child when you were unsure what you wanted to do, or maybe you did know what you wanted to do? What life advice would you give to that 22-year-old?
I think, for what it's worth, because I am still very much a child, there's like 4 times more life to live right now.
I agree. I agree.
Is to recognize that and to acknowledge that it doesn't stop. Not to be intimidated by the fact that you never stop learning, but to embrace it. Like, if you can find peace with the fact that you can always get better, and to be open about that with the people that actually care about you, brings a lot more growth and connection than trying to do everything yourself. That phrase, like, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. I can take care of myself. If I abandon everything, if I became a digital nomad and I moved away and I became, you know, I can travel, make all the money on my computer, I can do that. But then what would I have at the end of all that? Me.
Yeah.
There's no family. There's no garden. It's just me. And that's lonely. I would rather live with the purpose of growing with other people and tend to the garden and the community than have to feel like I have to abandon everything because the only person I can trust is me. You know what I mean? The sooner that you can realize what that actually means, I think you can find a lot more peace with whatever you choose to do. If you want to be a professional video gamer, if you want to be a martial artist, if you just want to make podcasts, you know, whatever you want to do, if you can just find peace with, like, going slow with the community, that's really it. That's the best thing I could probably give.
Sound advice, especially to a young man. What life advice do you think that a young child would give you? Let's kind of give an Uno reverse.
Probably the exact opposite. Like, oh man, I've been taking care of my family. I've been getting taken care of my family. You know, probably like really angsty about stuff. You're like, oh, but you have everything already. Just take care of you. Go as fast as you can. That's probably what they would tell me, because they see something inside, and I want to like spark you to do something more, to throw your Hail Mary and then make it. But at the end of all that, that's the dark energy. That's the thing that only lasts for a very short time. Like I could burn my torch as bright as I can, as fast as I can.
Yeah.
But as quickly as it comes, it also depletes. And that's kind of like where the content creation came from. It was like I put out so much work in like a year and a half, but it wasn't on purpose. It was me just throwing stuff out there for like a year and a half. And then it came, and then I didn't know what to do with it. And then by the time that I could have capitalized on it, all the attention was gone. And then I basically like wasted my 15 minutes of fame. Where like if I was doing it on purpose the whole time, I definitely could have done something with it. So like now I have to re-earn where I am at. Like, okay, that old stuff doesn't work anymore because everybody's doing that old stuff. What am I doing now? But that whole trickle of just like, you got to do it on purpose. You can't just, you know what I mean? Like, you ever watch like these young fighters, I'm like, I'll hark on them all the time when I watch them spar. And like, please stop throwing Hail Marys. What happened to literally like the last 2 hours of training that we did? You know, like the purpose. You gotta do things with that in mind, because then you're just wasting everybody's time.
Yeah. Like a fire, strong, sometimes burns out. There was actually a question that I wrote down, or a comment. How would you describe how martial arts as a whole changed your life?
I think in the way that I see it affecting kids and the people that want to connect with themselves through art, and people find art everywhere, through speaking, through creating pictures, expressing it in the gymnastics or martial arts world. I think it's a lot easier. And I totally went on a tangent there. Can you remind me the question one more time before I start talking more?
No, it's okay. It was, how has martial arts shaped who you are? Like, how has it created this strong foundation to where the man I'm talking to today, he wouldn't be without martial arts?
So, like, even me just talking about art, like, kind of trickles so many other thoughts. The fact that it is an art, connecting to being human, allows me to find creativity and curiosity and show love in everything that I do. When you start to find yourself only following routine, or only doing what you're told, or only doing what you think you're supposed to be doing, and you don't feel, and you don't express, and you don't connect to anything, you start to become cold, and you start to become alone. And the martial arts part affects me because, you know, I'll routinely work with people that are like, they're like high-level professionals. There's like pharmacists and like high-level military people and like business owners and, you know, stuff like that. But then we're on the floor and we're choking each other out, and nothing else really matters at that moment because we're all expressing art together. And then afterwards, you know, you make a neat connection or two. But like, as far as like changing and like shaping who I am, being part of a community where everybody willingly participates in art together is probably the only reason why I'm able to like empathize and like communicate with people the way that I can, is because you kind of have to.
Yeah.
You don't force it, but if you're around feeling enough, you'll learn how to feel. You know, if that's something that like people don't see inside of their life, just surround yourself with more. Eventually you'll open up. It might take a while. Depends on what you're going through, but community, art, the genuine human connection, you know, we all need that.
The authenticity. I agree. How more authentic than punching each other or choking each other in the face, you know? So, unfortunately, we are reaching the closing time One question I wanted to ask you was, how's your mental? Is there anything that's on your mind that you haven't talked about?
I think if you were to ask me that question 3 months ago, it would be a very different answer. But everything that I told you, I think being able to like work through what you're going through on purpose definitely helps. My sleep schedule is good. My work is good. I feel very clean with the way that I make my productivity work. And I'm still training. So all my check boxes are good.
Solid.
Life is on purpose right now, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's lovely. Well, I would say that's definitely a good spot to ask if you have any closing comments, or if you had any questions for me.
No, I'm really interested in kind of like where this goes, and hopefully we'll be able to hop on another podcast again, because I really enjoyed doing this and making more connection with somebody that's also trying to do something for themselves. So I don't have any questions for now. I'll probably hit you with it at like a random time after I'm done processing this.
Sounds good. When you were getting emotional about when I asked you about compassion, and your reciprocal answer on where it comes from, I definitely was doing my best to not be emotional as well, because I resonate with that. And all I can say is that it's an honor to also meet somebody who, it's funny because we're both Filipino, we're the same age, but also the same deep passion and love for their family. I'm just glad that there's another Filipino kid that thinks the same, and it's an honor. Geno, thank you so much for hopping on Auxano. Guys, to the listeners, thank you guys for tuning in. As always, be well and walk tall. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it.
That was great.
Yeah. I mean, thank you for just being willing to be a guest.